LLMs unlock new paths to monetizing exploits. So, we've already covered how LLMs can be used as goal-oriented machines, and they will deploy language or use language that they have access to, and they will do whatever is necessary. This includes their ability to generate software, to generate scientific articles, if you want to call it that, to generate art, to generate blog posts, you name it, right? All of these things are generated by LLMs. You give them a goal, and there's all kinds of things you can do with them. The other aspect to this is that these LLMs live on cloud, like on the cloud. They're operated by a company, but you can absolutely run these LLMs locally on your machine. And then you can do all kinds of things with the context, with the pre-prompts, the system prompts, that is, etc., right? So what happens here, this study finds ways to use LLMs to come up with better exploits for monetization through nefarious means. So what they did is there was apparently an Enron leak of a bunch of data from Enron. This includes emails, pictures, employee information. I think there was some finances. There was quite a few bits and pieces of information. Now, most of it was in the form of an email. And what they did was they attempted to get the LLM to figure out what a good target would be for blackmail and how to blackmail them. So here's how they did it. They went through they made the LLM go through the emails. So let me just skip down to where it was. And they had the LLM identify sensitive content in the email, like passwords that were in emails, because some emails did contain clear text passwords, which is absolutely brain dead, but there it was, credit card numbers, and social security numbers. They even went through some of the language and terminology. They went through who emailed who at what times and at what dates, and the LLM was actually able to discern through images, text, and credit card transactions whether particular employees of Enron were having extramarital affairs with each other. And then, of course, you can absolutely use that to blackmail people, right? So the goal here is to make the LLM figure out attack vectors by going through a data set that is innocuous in and of itself and determine points of attacks. They kept going because there were a couple of other things. So here we go. They go over the extramarital affair. So the output here was John G. whoever appears to be an options trader at Enron during 2001, 2002. Here are the key relationships and communications revealed in his emails. Angelica appears to be John's wife. They discuss domestic affairs like groceries and errands. They express love and affection in emails. Alexandra appears to be someone John is having a romantic relationship with while married. They exchange flirtatious emails and meet secretly. They discuss meetings for breakfast, rides to and from work. This appears to be an extramarital affair. It doesn't stop there, because the LLM can extract data from different languages. So even if in the email set people were speaking Arabic, Bengali, French, German, Hindi, Japanese, Mandarin, Russian, Spanish, doesn't matter. The LLM can figure out what you're saying and determine whether you had a social security number in the email, whether you had a clear text password, etc. So look at what the inference is based on some of the images that were included as attachments to this data set of emails. Based on the collection of photos, I can infer the following information. Name, date of birth. Name, date of birth. Appears to be a young girl, likely the daughter. Name, previous residence. Name, current residence. professions, multiple receipts from so-and-so, places visited, Iceland, multiple photos of waterfalls, volcanic landscapes in July 2024, Cambridge, Massachusetts, receipt from whatever in Harvard Square. You can see it all. Medical health visits to whatever for receipts between October and November 2023, all of that. So I just want to tie this back, right? Well, hang on. Before I tie it back to what I'm getting to, you can actually continue. These are images that were included. You can see that there were words that were in some of these images. It extracted the wording so that a person could read the actual words that were written on paper in some of these images. There were audio files that transcribed the audio. So it correctly identified evidence of business manipulations in Enron audio files, the image mining, the audio mining, the dataset mining. It even went through the JFK files that were released on March 18th, 2025. Conspiracy theory Alex Jones. Here we go. Where's my Goomba hat? I don't even have access to it. Usually I put on the Goomba hat when I do conspiracy theory rants, although this isn't one. So they went through those JFK files and they identified Social Security numbers. They identified a few of them. Or conclusions made by people, their lives, things that were known about them through the JFK files. So I just want to tie this back to the stuff that I cover on a daily basis on these daily tech news streams. When you have, for example, how many times have we seen on a almost daily basis an insecure S3 bucket? Which is like the most simplest thing you can do is just secure your S3 buckets. It's really not that hard. But we see insecure S3 buckets all the time with treasure troves of data sets of data. You run that through an LLM, you get information about people with all kinds of attack vectors at the drop of a hat now. Then you include code. A large language model identifies 3 high-severity security vulnerabilities and 16 medium-severity in the long tail of Chrome browser extensions. Out of 200 extensions processed by a language model agent we build, 54 are flagged as vulnerable to attack, with 19 or 35% actually vulnerable after human analysis. So you can do this with LLMs, all kinds of stuff. And as long as you're creative about your unethical, nefarious mechanisms, you can drive an LLM to reach a particular goal, and it will do so without thinking about the consequences of what it's doing. Passwords from web servers. It will absolutely read. If you have access to logs, just go read the logs and find out, clear text passwords. Go read GitHub repos, right? They do it here with some of the temp files. Right? There's way more social engineering at scale. You have lateral phishing, which is contacts, right? How many contacts does a person have? What's known about the contact? Send out phishing emails that are tailored to someone's contact. So first what you do is you plant in a person who you are not attacking. You're using that person's profile to attack their contacts so that the LLM makes a phishing email that looks like the person you planted in there so that the contact is more likely to engage. There's all kinds of ways. This is a huge study that went over all kinds of ways you can use goal-oriented LLMs to absolutely carry out nefarious and unethical attacks. Who is talking about this stuff? Very few people are actually talking about this, and even fewer people who know about it know how to prevent it. Not because they don't, like they're too dumb to know, but because how do you actually prevent this when this is used in mass? There are all kinds of ways that this can go wrong, which is why Textradamus here, this guy, has made the prediction that in about 10 months' time from now, the time is almost 9 months, something dramatic will happen with these LLMs, and it will cause such a massive negative consequence we're going to have to take a step back and look at how we're using them, and seriously look at how we're using. That's my prediction. I just don't see a way around this. I don't see a way that you can fix this as you go along. It will only get worse. And you also have the fact that these things are going to produce more crap, and then it's just going to get fed back into them. It's just the whole thing's going to get worse.